Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I've got another Monday quarterback video for you. This video comes from New Mexico. Alright, so I'm going to play this video and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Here we go.
The video you are about to see is intended to provide an overview of the facts as we currently understand them about an officer-involved shooting that occurred on May 6, 2025 around noon in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. New Mexico State Police conducts thorough use of force investigations, which typically requires investigators to interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video footage, and analyze a significant amount of forensic evidence. The incident happened around noon after an NMSP officer conducted a traffic stop on a white GMC pickup truck driven by 75-year-old Dennis Jones in Truth or Consequences. The officer ran the license plate and learned Jones, the registered owner, had an active arrest warrant for a probation violation in Arizona for sexual assault. After the officer visually confirmed that Jones was driving the vehicle, he initiated a traffic stop near the intersection of H.R. Ashbaugh Drive and North Date Street. During the traffic stop, the officer asked Jones to step out of the vehicle. It was at this time that Jones produced a handgun and pointed it at the officer. Because the officer believed he was going to be shot and killed, he drew his department-issued handgun and fired multiple rounds at Jones. Jones, who was still in the vehicle, fled from the scene, and a pursuit ensued northbound onto New Mexico Highway 181. The pursuit ended after Jones stopped and exited his vehicle in the middle of Highwinds Road, north of Truth or Consequences. The officer exited his patrol vehicle and gave Jones verbal commands to surrender. Jones refused to comply with the officer's orders and began shooting at the officer. In response, the officer returned fire with his duty-issued rifle, striking Jones, causing him to fall to the ground. After officers approached, they located Jones with a fatal gunshot wound to the head. Jones was pronounced deceased at the scene by the office of the medical investigator. No officers were injured during this incident. The contents of this video may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Body-worn cameras are used by all New Mexico State Police officers. It is important to note that the camera lens is fixed and does not capture everything seen or experienced by the officer. When activated, both audio and video turn on. The body-worn camera has a buffer of video without audio for 30 seconds prior to activation. This feature is designed to capture incidents that happen suddenly where an officer doesn't immediately activate the camera. All NMSP patrol units are also equipped with in-car dash cameras. These cameras have a buffer of video without audio for 1 minute prior to activation. The following video shows the initial traffic stop which led to the first shooting incident.
Hello, sir. I'm also very much Mr. Police. We do a stop, sir. As a registered owner of this vehicle probably has a warrant. You bought this from anyone recently? Do you have a driver's license on you then? Are you from Arizona at all? No, never ever? Do you have the registration and insurance for the vehicle? No weapons or anything on you right now? If you can't find it, can you just step out for me and we're going to walk back to my unit, alright? walk back to the unit. Shots fired, shots fired, shots fired. I had him pulling a gun on me. I need assistance, please. He's taking off right now.
We have sharp fires. We're doing a traffic. Location phase 4. And Bradley Chevron.
10-4,
The following video shows the end of the officer's pursuit, which led to the second shooting incident.
10-4, he's going up a high winds road up to a property. He stopped. I was done pulling my arm. Put your hands up! Put your hands up! I will shoot you! He's shooting back. He's shooting back. Shots fired. Shots fired. He's shooting. Put your hands up!
So, Motor 9, where you directed that last shooting, sir?
He's down on the ground. Possibly hit.
10-4, direct male down, possibly hit.
Put your hands up! Let me see your hands!
Firearm is possibly in his left hand.
The officer involved in this incident was placed on standard administrative leave. This incident is the subject of a criminal investigation that will be reviewed by the District Attorney's Office, which reviews all officer-involved shootings. It is also the subject of an internal investigation by the department, which is standard procedure. The investigation may take up to a year to complete. Our understanding may change as evidence continues to be analyzed and reviewed. The New Mexico State Police acts solely as a fact finder in its cases and does not determine whether the actions of an officer are justified in these incidents. That decision rests with the District Attorney's Office.
All right. Let's get
The video footage and analyze a significant amount of license plate and learned Jones.
All right. So, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. So, when I had first come across this video and had saw that it was Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, I thought, cool, I know about that place. Never been there, but I've heard about it. Several years back, I read a book. I don't forget what the name of the book is, but it's about a, I guess you could say, a serial, well, it would follow along the lines of a serial killer, but I don't think they were ever able to prove that he killed a whole bunch of people. But he did kidnap a lot of women. And a guy by the name of David Parker Ray or David Ray Parker, one of the two, I can't remember. This dude had a trailer that he modified, made it soundproof, and turned it into a little jail, essentially. Had a gynecologist chair in there and all these torture devices and sex toys, and had it rigged for recording, and he would go out and kidnap girls and bring them back to this trailer. I want to say he called it the toy box or something like that. And him and his wife and allegedly some other people would just have a gang rape on these girls. And there were some rumors that he was a part of a cult, and that he would bring the women to like this big satanic cult meeting thing and have large orgy rapes or something like that. And then he would drug them up with a bunch of barbiturates and do some mind control on them, get them all drugged up, do a rehearsed script, read it to them, and basically brainwash them into thinking that they had been somewhere else and that this had never happened to them, and then he would release them out to the street somewhere, and then go find someone else. And they had done this for so long that he had a like a recorded message whenever they would kidnap a girl and put them in this room. They would just hit play on this thing and let it play to the person as like an introduction to, hey, this is where you're at now. This is what's going to be happening to you. A very, very interesting case. And the town, Truth or Consequences, was actually named something else. I never forgot what it was. But back in the 50s, there was a radio show called Truth or Consequences. And they put out this advertisement that any town that changes their name to Truth or Consequences would get some kind of award of some sort, some kind of monetary reward. And so this town voted to change their name to Truth or Consequences. So anyway, fun little history story on Truth or Consequences. About the only thing I know about that place. I wish I could remember the name of that book, but it was a pretty good book. It was some pretty disturbing stuff in there. In fact, so disturbing that one of the FBI agents that was a part of that investigation had just delved so far deep into this stuff and looking at all these horrific things that they ended up unsubscribing themselves from life during this investigation, or after this investigation. Alright, so enough of that. Let's go into the traffic stop part itself. So pretty standard traffic stop. This is where, people say, oh, it's a routine traffic stop, right? Well, there's no real such thing as a routine traffic stop. You've got unknown risk, and then you've got high risk. So he makes a passenger side approach, which I'm a big fan of. Passenger side approach, I think it gives you some more advantage when making contact with a person inside a vehicle. If you make the driver side approach, it just makes it so much easier for the driver to shoot you. From a passenger side approach, it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to get the gun, swivel it around, and then aim at you and fire. And I think that that's probably what worked out in this officer's favor, is making that passenger side approach, and he was able to see the guy get the gun up and out and then try to presumably swing it towards him. We can't see in the dash cam footage very well any movements through the rear windshield, and he has his body camera, I think, mounted to his belt. So you can see in the screen here, the body camera is pretty much facing at the door handle here, and when you look over onto the dash cam, his waist level is kind of much in line with the door handle here. So not a big fan of putting body cameras on the belt. I think the more optimal placement for them is mid-chest somewhere. I think that gives probably the better view when you're dealing with a vehicle, because that puts it above the door, and you can see through the window on the camera and at least capture faces, especially if you're standing and they're sitting. It really, like, their face is right there. You're able to see a lot of good images from that chest level, even when standing. And the other person standing, you're still able to capture a lot of them pretty well, capture the faces, capture a lot of what's going on. If you have to pull the gun or whatever, or pull taser or anything else, it captures all that within that view. And I think it makes it easier to reach up and activate that camera. It's mid-chest. You just reach up, double tap it, turn it on. And you're able to, very quickly look down and reference the lights on it and tell whether or not it's on or not. On the belt, you're going to be limited a little bit on depending on what all's on your belt and placement, especially for smaller, petite people. When you have all this stuff on the belt and you're a petite person, you have a small waistline, well, that your belt space is maxed out. Like, you don't have a whole lot of room there. And then depending on the belt style and everything else, you may not have a very good midline placement of that camera. It may be off to either the left or to the right some, and then that may be messing with some of your views. You may not be able to capture a lot of good quality video like you would if it was mid-chest. Some agencies have these asinine thoughts and processes with body cameras in relation to the uniforms. And I would suspect that because this is their state police, that they probably have some kind of traditional mindset when it comes to putting stuff on the uniform shirt. They only want the stuff that's on there that looks the truest to the Class A uniform look, and that's going to be the badge, the nameplate, the insignia stuff. They don't want anything else on that uniform shirt because it detracts from the tradition of that uniform shirt. Our Kentucky State Police is very similar to that mindset. They don't want the troopers putting the body cameras on the uniform shirt because it takes away from the tradition of that uniform shirt, which I kind of get, because when you look at like old photos from like the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s and stuff from like troopers headshots, they look other than them being black and white, if you were to colorize them, they would look almost the same as troopers from 2025. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference because the uniforms have pretty much remained the same over all those years, and it's kind of a tradition kind of thing. So I get that. I understand why they don't want to, add a bunch of junk to the uniform shirt and take away that look. But at the same time, I think they're jeopardizing common sense placement of the body camera. And like I said, mid-chest placement of the camera, I think, is the best place for the body camera to be able to capture the most optimal imaging. The flex cameras from Axon, they have the little bullet camera that you can attach to your shoulder epaulets or attach to eyewear. That can give you more truer sense of what the person's looking at from their head level. But even those, I think, don't work out the greatest. The mid-chest is probably the best placement for body camera. All right. So, like I said, passenger side approach, I think, helped out with him being able to react appropriately to this deadly threat. If he had made that driver side approach, it's possible that this guy could have more easily got this gun out into the fight and shot this officer.
Hello, sir. I'm also very much assistant police. We have recently.
All right. All right. So he observes the threat. He starts to move to get off the X, brings that gun up into a one-handed grip, fires a couple rounds, comes back to a very temporary holding spot, talking on the radio, and then he can see some kind of movement through the rear windshield that we can't easily see because of the reflection and whatnot from both windshields. But sees enough that he decides he needs to fire again, pops one round, and pops a second round without even really looking at what he's doing, which is a little negligent in my opinion. So the first contact, so to speak, where he moves off the X and then fires, a two-handed grip is always going to be better than a one-handed grip for a handgun. Because when you think about a handgun, your only point of contact for that gun is the handle. And when you only have one hand on the gun, you're almost essentially slashing your accuracy in half, because that handle is the only place for your second hand to go to cover up what's remaining that your first hand has not covered up, or what your dominant has not covered up, and you're putting your fingers around your dominant hand, squeezing in some, and then that thumb of your support hand is and or can be going into the slide. I'm sorry, not the slide, into the frame of the gun itself, for a point of contact. So when you take that support hand off and you're only shooting one-handed, essentially you're slashing your accuracy in half. Do you want to shoot a handgun one-handed, or do you want to shoot it two-handed to be accurate? Of course, you want to do it two-handed. So him moving off the X, getting that gun up and shooting, and then not bringing his support hand up, I think is detrimental. He fires a couple rounds, and then moves back to this little holding spot, and then starts to fire some more rounds while moving. And as he is moving, he's not even looking through the sights as he fires that other round. And like I said, I think that's a little bit negligent. You should be using your sights and putting rounds to where you want them to go. If you're not using your sights and you fire a round off, you obviously don't know where that round is going. You're not being 100% accountable for that round. And in environments like this, you are accountable for every round that you send. He's very quick to get to the radio, which I get it, right? Like, when it comes to fights, armed conflicts, those who can shoot, move, and communicate are usually the ones who get to win armed conflicts. And so communication is an important aspect to a fight. However, I don't think that trying to stay on the radio as much as what I see people do is the best thing to be doing. In this moment, the fight comes first. And like I said, communications is a part of that fight. But when you look at FAST, Wyatt Protocol, a fight, assess, scan, top off, take cover, treat injuries, and then talk. So talking, the talking part comes a little bit later in that chain of events. And if he's still in the fight, he needs to be focused on the fight, putting both hands on the gun and putting incapacitating rounds into the target. When it comes to that radio, realistically, all you need to do is hit the orange button, the emergency distress button. I promise you, you press that button, the cavalry's coming. you don't have to say anything. You just press that button, and everyone's coming to you. Now, that is assuming, of course, that you've called out your traffic stop and you have told dispatch where you're at. Believe it or not, even today, 2025, there are some people out there working who, for whatever reason, do not call out the dispatch exactly where they are and what they're doing. It blows my mind that people still operate like that, but it does. So like I said, assuming that dispatch knows where you're at, you hit that orange button, they're going to be sending everyone to your last known location. And depending on how your radio system is configured, the equipment that if you have the equipment that's capable of doing it, and then two, if it's all programmed to do it, you can have the equipment that can do this, but it may not be programmed to do it. Unfortunately, that happens a lot in a lot of places. You got this cool equipment, and you're not even fully utilizing its full capabilities. For example, siren boxes, which we'll go into later on in this video in the pursuit. Siren boxes come with some extra wiring, so it does more than just hook wires into a speaker and make loud noises. You can actually wire this thing into the vehicle's braking system and gear selector, and so when you have the siren turned on and you throw that car into park, it automatically shuts the siren off. But there's so many agencies out there that do not utilize that function because it just requires extra work. And the same for radios. So you have radios that have some cool capabilities, but either the administrators don't fully understand how to understand all this, and they just wanted the radio, and it came, they got this cool radio and it comes with this capability, but they don't use it. Or it could be a feature that costs extra to unlock it and enable it, and they just don't want to do that. But on some radios out there, when you press the orange distress button, it can also hot mic your radio for a predetermined amount of time, and you can configure this to whatever you want. You can hot mic it to like 15 seconds, you can hot mic it for 30 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever. But when you press that orange button, it sends out the distress signal to all of the radios and to the dispatch, and it will key your microphone for you. It'll hot mic it for, let's say, 10 seconds. So you know that when you press that orange button, your mic is turned on at that point, and you can start talking and saying out loud what's going on, which is a really cool feature. But like I said, not everyone has that feature turned on, or has the infrastructure for it. But anyway, like I said, you can hit that orange button and boom, cavalry's coming to you. Or be very brief in what you're saying. Shots fired. Officer needs help. That's really all you need to say. And the cavalry's coming to you. If they're calling for you on the radio, just because they're calling for you on the radio doesn't mean you have to respond right then and there. You're in the fight. This dude's got a gun. He's trying to kill you. Both your hands need to be on the gun. You need to be focusing on the threat and trying to stop that threat. I promise you, them trying to radio you and you not answering it right away, that will just motivate them a whole lot more to get there a lot quicker. So he moves back to the rear portion of his cruiser, which is good. Start to take cover behind his cruiser. When you think about vehicles, they're not that great at stopping bullets. Bullets can pass through vehicles pretty easily. The only parts of the vehicle that the bullets have trouble going through is the big engine block and then the axles. The rest of the vehicle, the bullets pass through pretty easily. So when you use the long axis of the vehicle, from front to rear, you add a bunch of material in between you and the hurt. And that extra material that the bullets have to pass through can slow them down enough to where they don't fully penetrate all the way, or if they do, they've lost so much speed that they're not going to be able to cause incapacitating hits onto you. Whereas from driver side to passenger side, you could very easily fire a pistol round and it go through the driver's side and come all the way out the passenger side, through the doors, through the back cargo space of their SUV here. Bullets can make it through vehicles surprisingly easy. And in my vehicle tactics class, there is a ballistics proportion, or a ballistics portion of the class, where we just shoot the shit out of a car and use 22s and 9mm and show students, hey, this is how easy bullets can go through a vehicle. And it's a really good eye opener when students get to see a small little 22 go straight through a car door. That puts in their head, hey, maybe hiding behind this car door is not the brightest idea. Maybe I should hide behind something else. Because if a little tiny 22 can go all the way through a freaking car door, then you know for damn sure that other rounds are going all the way through it. And then when you see a 9mm go through driver door and through passenger door, that's still even more of an eye-opening experience for the students, and putting it in their head, hey, hiding behind a car is not the best place. If there is better forms of cover, that's where I want to go to. But then when you start firing long ways into the vehicles, it's hard for those bullets to go all the way through. Now, through glass to glass, yeah, it can be a little bit easier, but from front of car to rear car, that bullet's going to slow down and deviate a lot to where it's generally not going all the way through. So good on him for wanting to move to the rear of that vehicle for cover. And he does this again whenever he does get stopped on this road, all the way out here in the middle of nowhere. At some point, he has gotten his rifle out and ready for the fight. So let me drop this volume down a little bit. So I think this is what we see right here in the body cam. So that tells me that he, while driving, most likely had the rifle up in the cab of the vehicle and had dismounted it during this chase and got it ready. So that is one reason why I like cab mounted rifles, because you can more easily get to that rifle while you're sitting in the vehicle. When you have it in the trunk or the cargo space of the vehicle, that of course requires you to get out of that vehicle, go to the back, get it out, danger it up, and then go get back in the car, or go from the rear to wherever you need to go. When it's in the cab of the vehicle, it's a whole lot easier to get it out. You can relatively easily, while driving, pull the rifle from its mount, danger it up, and it be ready for the fight as soon as you dismount. So luckily he had that set up and was able to get this rifle out and into the fight relatively easily. So again, he gets the rifle out, goes to the rear of the vehicle to take cover, but he has to go back up to the front to turn the siren off. And so I talked earlier about equipment not being fully utilized to its full capacity, and this is where that extra little effort goes a long way. Yeah, it may be a more tedious process to wire in the wires from the siren box into the vehicle to make that function work, where when you throw the vehicle in park, it shuts the siren off. Yeah, that takes extra time. It's not as easy as just mounting the box in there and running the speaker wires to the speaker and doing your power and negative. But when it comes to situations like this where you need that damn siren off right frickin' now, it's so helpful to throw that car in park and the siren be shut off. It takes away you having to look down at the siren box, taking your eyes off the threat, looking down at the siren box, and then reaching down and switching that knob over to off. So like while you're looking down at the siren box and you got your hand off your gun and you're reaching down on this little knob to turn it, you're not seeing the threat and you got your hand off the gun, which is a negative. It's a detriment to your safety. So take that extra effort to have the full capability of these products. I mean, there's a reason why these manufacturers made that, right? To make it safer for the end user. I think that the path of least resistance is probably the reason why these things are not always hooked up the way they should be. And different agencies do their setups different. Like some agencies buy a full turnkey car from a company, and all they have to do is drop their radio into the thing and maybe put their own graphics on there. Or they could buy it from a company and the company does the graphics for them too. But there's that. Then you have agencies that buy vehicles from a company and they're plain color or whatever, and then they send them to another outfitter that could be local or regional, and they do all the install with the lights and sirens and the graphics. Or your agency may have its own internal department that does everything. So if like a city may have its city garage that does all the outfitting on the police vehicles, and you may have like a state police agency that has its own division within its state police that does the outfitting. So there's actually a pretty cool video out there from California Highway Patrol that shows this outfitting of their CHP vehicles, and it's a whole division of CHP, and that's all they do is they get new vehicles in and they do all the outfitting. They install all the lights and sirens and the computers and the radios and like everything. So it's done differently all across the nation and even in the states. One state, part of the state, they may do it this way. Another part of the state maybe do it this other way. There's actually some officers out there who will do some of this stuff on their own. They'll actually be wiring in lights onto their cruiser, believe it or not. So if you've got a vehicle that does not have this feature activated, I highly recommend trying to go about getting that feature activated. Whether you do the Googling yourself, figuring out how to do it, or taking it somewhere to have it done. If you're a city garage or you're, the people who do the upfitting, you can take it back to them and say, hey, this siren's capable of doing this. Can you make it do this? If they won't do it, I don't know why they wouldn't do it. The only thing I can think of why they would refuse to do that is they're maybe worried about voiding a warranty on a vehicle by splicing into the factory wiring for the brakes or the steering column area. There's could be some risk there, and that could be why they would refuse to do it. Or it could just boil down to they don't know about it. They just know how to run the speaker wires and the power and ground. It's this is the way it's always been done kind of thing, and that's all they know how to do. But anyway, starting to rant on that, but if you have the ability to do it, get it done.
You shooting? Put your hands up!
So how overnight were you directed that last meeting, sir?
All right, so he has to fire a few times at this guy, and looking at the rifle, looks to be a standard carbine. Looks like he has, it's really hard to tell what kind of sight he has on there, because it looks like part of the sling is in the way of the sight here. That looks maybe like a regular red dot sight, and yeah, it's really hard to tell for sure what it is. So I highly doubt there's any like true magnification on that red dot sight. And so having a magnifier behind that red dot sight is a game changer. It truly is. So for the longest time, I ran just an aim point on my rifle, and then I did got a new rifle, and with that, I had an EOTech and an EOTech magnifier, and man, like when I used that magnifier for the first time, I thought, why the hell have I not been doing this a lot sooner? I mean, yeah, you can make shots, you know, out at distance with just a regular red dot. It's easy to do. I mean, of course I've done it. I've shot with my carbine targets out to 400 yards using red dot. You know, at that distance, it takes a little bit more time to get your rifle settled in and get the sight settled in on that. But man, once you swivel that little magnifier right there in front of it, holy crap, man! It makes that target acquisition so much faster. And even at this short distance here, yeah, you can put red dot on him and just use red dot only. But even at this distance, having that magnifier on can make the target acquisition just so much faster. What is it called? LVPO or LMPO? LVPO, lightweight variable, LVPO, yeah, lightweight variable powered optics. Even those, there's some merit with those. I'm not the biggest fan of those, but again, like having that ability to magnify really makes a difference. It really does. In my personal opinion, the best setup is a red dot optic with a magnifier that can be swiveled in or out behind it. I think the versatility of that is just phenomenal. But he's able to make his hits on the bad guy. The bad guy goes down, and then he waits for more people to come out there. Now, some other things to think about. So they're on this long stretch of road right here. He's using the long axis of the vehicle for his cover, and he is obviously off to one side of the vehicle, so that then allows for the tires and the wheels of the vehicle to cover that portion of him that is not covered. Otherwise, between the wheels is an open spot, and so bad guy shooting at him, rounds could hit ground, ricochet, and come hit him in the legs. So these big rocks right here could also be forms of cover that he could have used as well to really get a good object in front of him to stop bullets. And it's hard to see in the dash cam footage because it's not obviously zoomed in very well. But there could have been a point where if this officer needed to, he could have dropped down to the prone position and fired from a prone position and put bullets under the vehicle and shoot the guy in the legs, kind of like the late 90s North Hollywood bank robbery incident where one of the officers had to fire under the vehicle like I just described and hit the bad guy in the legs or the feet and then drop him down. So more people arrive. This guy's down into a prone position, and then these other people are coming off to the side over here making their approach. not much else to say about this video. It's a pretty good video, I think. Some pretty good talking points in there. And yeah, that's it. So if you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.